Mi gente, what's up? Bienvenidos. Welcome to another episode of Hoy en Día TV. I am your host, Yesy Rodriguez, on this lovely, terrific Thursday. Yes, otro jueves maravilloso. And I'm going to bring on my co-host, Cece. Nadine may or may not be with us because she is working on set, but we definitely send love and support to her. Cece, welcome. Good to see you again.
Hey. Yes, happy Thursday, everybody. Happy Jueves. We made it. You see my Duolingo paying off. Yay. All right.
Yes. You sound good. Feliz Jueves. Yes. So, since the last time I saw you, what's been up? How was your week?
Yeah, my week's been really, really productive. So for those of you that may not know, and I think maybe I shared this on one of the episodes, but I am pursuing my PhD. And so yesterday was my final day for my experiment, right? So now I'm doing the second half of everything to get all my research together. And so depending on, now I have to basically put all the data together and see what the data is going to say. So I did a quasi experimental design with my research study. And so once I get all that information back, the surveys and everything, so I did like a pre-survey and then a post-survey. Once I get all that back, we're going to see what it's going to say, right? So my dissertation topic is about servant leadership, leader-member exchange, and training programs. And so it's been very, very insightful. And even something that happened very interesting today, the executive director of one of the nonprofits that I'm servicing through, well, they're helping me with the research. She called me because of the training session on yesterday. And one of the employees in the session was very transparent, because that's one of the constructs that I'm actually exploring within the research. And so authenticity, transparency, all that kind of stuff. And so she was really displaying the authenticity. And so she said some things, and you could see like the temperature and the pulse in the room, it kind of shifted, the energy shifted. And so the boss called me today and she was like, what did you think about that? And since this is a part of your research, and this is the field that you're going into, because my field is industrial organizational psychology. And so it's really to kind of go in and restructure work centers and things of that nature, any kind of organization really, to kind of see what the problems are and basically to go in and fix them. And so it was kind of neat that she was asking me for my expertise. And so when I gave her, what I saw objectively, she's like, yeah, you're spot on. But the cool thing, she was like, well, how do you suggest that I fix it? And I'm like, I'm not the doctor yet. But I have life experience, right? And so I began to share with her some things, and she goes, wow, this was very insightful. And she is getting to she's going to be retiring from this institution on this year. So she was just very, very transparent with me and very authentic and genuine. And I really appreciated that. And the fact that this CEO, this executive director, I should say, of this company, she, asked little old me, you know what I'm saying? My opinion. And I thank God all the time, like high five to the Holy Spirit, right? Ooh, he's great. He was just giving me these downloads and I was sharing it with her. And it's something that she's going to be able to utilize within her organization. So I'm like, yeah, I hope it works, Yeah.
That is
that session, right? But it's good advice. Yes. So it's been a good week, a productive week, a busy week, but a good week. What about you? How's your week going?
Well, first, before I say that, I'm going to say, wow, very impressive. Like, I want to respond to you like that. That's great. You're already getting that awareness out there. And like you said, you're still in pursuit of your doctoral degree, but people are already knocking at your door. That's how valuable what you have to offer is. So salute to you. Like, keep it up. That is very impressive. I'm so proud of you. That is awesome. As for me, similar, productive, pushing forward, with different tasks and mommy life and, wifey life and just, everything in between. And there's still the work that I do behind the scenes between the podcast and promotion and marketing and in my acting and just a little bit of everything. So just continuing to push forward and thanking God each and every day for the blessings and just giving me the motivation, right? Because what I do, people ask me, they're like, well, how do you do it? And it's like, when you're really hungry and ambitious, you figure it out. It's not a question about the how. Well, yes, it's about the how, but it's more like, what are you going to do? Like, there's sacrifices that come, right, with that. And for people that are complacent, hey, more power to you. I salute you, but that's not me. Sorry. Nope.
No. No. You know what? I can't salute the complacent people. We shouldn't salute them.
Okay.
We can't salute the complacent people. Yeah, let's talk about this, right? We can't salute the complacent people. We can't salute the procrastinators. Because here's the thing, right? What's the rate of return on investment, right? We were a creation. We were something that was spoken and breathed into existence, right? By the Most High. And so he gave us a purpose and a plan. And we're supposed to work that purpose and the plan with our faith and with our works. So for the people that are out there being complacent, the people that are out there throwing shade on people that are doing the work, right? Making the sacrifices, going the extra mile, hating on them, right? Shame on you. Okay. Now is the time. It's been go time. It's been go time. Go time was when you were born. It's go time. When the life came into your body, you came into existence, right? To this whole creation. It was go time. And so we got to get off of our tushes. Let's just keep it real. We got to get off of our tushes, and it's time to push. It's time to press. It's time to make those dreams happen. So hearing everything that you're doing, it can be overwhelming. And I know you've had those moments where you're just like, woof. And people look at you and they hear all the things and they go, well, how do you get that done in a day? Right? How do you get that done in a week? Like, oh my God, that's my life for the year. What you've done in 1 week. It's my life for the year. And they're wondering how you get it done. But again, you make those sacrifices, you push, you press because you're hungry, and you should be, right? God put that purpose and that passion in us, and we have to be able to bring that to light and to life because people are waiting on you, right? So for all of you complacent people, for all of you procrastinators, you don't have to like me, but people are waiting on you. We need your giftings. We need your talent. We need that thing to be brought to the forefront, right? So that people in the world can be blessed by you. So I commend you. Yes, you were being really, really nice to them, No, they don't get a pass. No, they don't get a pass.
I respect and I understand and see your perspective, right? And I love that. And you're right. I agree with you. I'm that person where it's like, I'm a go-getter, I'm ambitious, I'm hungry, I'm going to do it. But in life, I've come across people where they're just complacent. And so what I do is I say, okay, you want to stay right there? Then bye. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to leave you right there where you are. Bye. I'll see you when I see you type of thing. And in reality, you realize when you look around you as you continue to progress and grow, people start falling off your life like flies. Like there's a handful of people that I can really say, that I can count on to reach out to. And, obviously outside of you and Nadine being my amazing co-host, but from a personal perspective, like there's just a handful of people where I can really truly rely on because of that, because I'm one of those where it's like, I respect who you are. And if you don't align with what we're doing, I mean, it's okay to kumbaya, but then what happens? We're supposed to grow together. We're supposed to evolve. Like you just said, Cece, God made us for purposes. And if we're not aligning in our purpose, then I'm going to leave you where you are. It's okay if you want to go out and party and waste your money. That's you. That's not me. So more power to you. That's the perspective I was coming from when it comes to that. But you're right. I agree with your perspective.
Gotcha. I'm tracking now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where it's like, as we grow and get older, it's okay to leave people where they are if they're not willing to meet you halfway or meet you where you're at, and vice versa, right? People can also leave you or whoever, the viewers and listeners, if you're not meeting what they're expecting. And it's all part of communication, having that effective communication so that both parties can understand each other and say, okay, this is what I have to offer. This is what I have to offer. What happens next? Are we going to grow? Are we going to start a business? Are we, like in this case, me, you, and Nadine came together for Hoy en Dia. We're positively motivating, impacting, influencing, educating, and entertaining the world, right? With the gifts and talents and positivity that God blessed us with. That is our purpose. We came together, we aligned together, and that's why we are here. And so for each and every person that is lost, that has no clue, I challenge you, try to figure out your purpose. And I know we've talked about this before, but we're going to continue to talk about it because there's so many people that still have zero clue what their purpose is. Mm-hmm. Right, Susie?
Absolutely. Hallelujah and amen. And we should know by now. We should definitely know by now. I think we had a show and I even read it in the scriptures, right? What our purpose is, right? And to do that, you said something very interesting. You said that you could count on one hand the number of people. And, for me, I'm the same way. It's a very small group. And to be honest, I don't like it, right? I think my group, I really want my group to be a lot larger, but that's just not the nature of the beast. It's really a small, and I'm just like, wow, and when you really look around, when the chips fall where it's like, who is going to really be there? Who is going to have your back, your front, your sides, and all of that, right? Who can you really call on? And for me, that number is very, very small as well. And to be honest, like I said, I want that. And it's just not, because people have proven to show me who they are, right? And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, sometimes people are going to kind of fall off your radar because we all growing and moving at different rates and speeds. And you might come back around when we link up again. And then again, maybe not. Maybe you may, surpass me or whatever the case may be. But as long as I'm still moving. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the question that we put out there for the audience. How many people do you have that you can really count on? And we're in my mind where you see things on social media, you think people have this huge, like circle, but they really, really don't. I mean, it appears to be that way, but they really, really don't. Some people may even have less than the 5 fingers. You know what I'm saying? They might only have 2. You know what I'm saying? So that's a question. Yeah, put that out to the viewers. Like, yeah, how many people in your close circle? How many people do you have? Is it more than 5? Is it less than 5? What does that look like? And with those people that's in your circle, I like to say the outer court, the inner court, and the holies of holies, right? That's kind of how the Bible does it with all this stuff. So you got your outer, your inner, and then your holies of holies. And so you got to know the people that's in your inner ring. LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, they have a thing like that with your profile. And it shows like your first degree, second degree, third degree connections, because it's just building this big web of your network. So it shows that kind of stuff. So yeah. So who are you closely connected with? And do you have a close network given? That was, so when you said that, I didn't feel like it gave me some peace, some solace, because I'm like, I'm not the only one. A lot of times I feel like we're the only ones, so I'm like, I'm not the only one, but thank God, at least we do have a few close, you know what I'm saying? So I guess that's the silver lining.
Yeah, no, you make a beautiful point. I agree with you. And I think for me, CC too, I'm going to be honest with you. Me and my honey, we pray about that all the time. Like we pray to God to remove those individuals that are not meant to be in our lives, that are not really serving their purpose, and bring those divine connections that are going to help us continue to grow. And it's one of those things where you ask and God is going to give it to you. They're like, okay, this is what you want. Okay, I got you. And so looking, that makes sense because I'm asking for it. And the reason why is because I want authentic, true people that are really wanting to be there and not feeling like they're forced, or not me feeling like, oh, because I have something that you want, now you are around because of that, and vice versa. Like I want genuine, true, divine connections where all of us are aligned, we're growing together. And hey, it's one of those things where you ask and God has sent it. So yeah. Hey, that's life, right?
Yep, you always see.
Right. Absolutely. And along those lines, we're going to pivot over to Mother's Day is coming up soon, this coming weekend. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to just share some ideas for those who have a clue. Like, we're like, oh gosh, I got my mother everything under the sun. What else should I get her, right? Or what else should I do for mom? Because moms are very, yes. I'm a mom. Okay, I get it. But bearing a child for 10 months of your life, feeding and just dealing with all the ups and downs of the emotions, that's hectic. Woo! I thank God I was able to experience that. But I will say we are very, very, like, women's bodies are, wow, amazing. Truly, like, God really broke the record with us when he made a woman's body, because just being able to bear life, like, wow, that's. And I'm so curious, like I absolutely, I go back to the videos where it says like, how does conception and how does the fetus grow into an actual baby in the womb? Like I look at all those videos, I'm like, wow, that is so mind-boggling, right? It's like interesting. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. God made us to help meet for a reason. Because everybody say a guy would never ever, if a guy had to go through childbirth, they probably never ever, the world, we would really have no population because men would not be having babies. I say men, they would be like chastity belts on. Okay. They'd be like, no, 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 no. We're not having no babies here, okay? The shop is closed. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to do it. But yeah, for Mom's Day coming up, mothers out there, to all of you trying to become mothers, because that's a thing as well. For those of you, I know there's people out there. I watched a show earlier today, a little bit, just a bit briefly, my downtime, about 30 minutes. So I was like, oh, let me just kind of decompress a bit. And it was a fertility clinic. In the show, and this maybe is something real that probably has happened, but in the show, right, these women were freezing their eggs in their 20s and 30s, and they got a call, and basically, see, what had happened was the refrigerators in this clinic had went down, supposedly, okay? But this is what they found out. The clinic was under investigation because there were reports that the eggs in which they were extracting from these women, they were selling the eggs on the black market. Some of them, not all of them, but they were selling the eggs on the black market. And not only that, but they were separating the eggs. So melanated eggs were in one refrigerator, and the non-melanated eggs, right, were in another refrigerator. So the refrigerator that broke was, of course, the melanated, right? And so, it was like a big thing. So this company's being investigated, all this stuff, and this is all TV, but I began to wonder, I was like, is stuff like that really happening? Probably so. Because a lot of stuff that we see on TVs, they're just telling the vision. They're just telling the story of what they're actually doing. And we see it as something that's, just fictional and just fun to watch or whatever, but could it be happening, So even for those women that are out there, freezing their eggs, trying to have that family because they're doing their professions, all of that stuff. Happy Mother's Day to all of you who are and who will be and who have been, because we know that there are moms out there too who have lost their baby. So where this may be a day of celebration for many, it may be a day of grief for others. And so we just want to take a moment to pause, right, to still say thank you for the life that you brought into this world, for the lives that you will bring into this world, and even for the lives that were lost. So we here at Oyendia TV, we just want to say we love you all. And we thank you for giving life so that the world can continue to move on. We can continue to contribute to this 8+ billion, bodies that we have here on the planet Earth.
Oh, that was very beautiful. That was a really nice message. Thank you for sharing that, Cece. And I echo your words. Absolutely echo your words. And so keeping that in mind, for those who don't have a clue really what to get their mom, because you feel like you've given them all the jewelry, the perfume, the dresses, the gift cards, massages, pedicures, manicures, the whole shebang, right? So something that I feel goes very underrated, and I actually appreciate, handwritten letters or a poem. And why that's important is because you're taking a moment out of your business to really put that into words. It's very traditional, old school. I get it. And especially, and because of that, because it's very traditional, old school, that's where the value is, because we're living in a world of technology. Everything is either laptops, computers, and cell phones. What happens to the old school writing? What happens to the old, putting your thoughts on paper, writing it down, how you feel, expressing. Even if you have to get the videos from your cell phone, put a small compilation of videos together, pictures, and attach that with the letter that you're writing, right? To say, hey, this is how I feel. These are the memories that we've shared together, right? So that's one idea.
Mm-hmm. What do you I love that. No, I love that, because those are the types of things that we used to do back in the day, they say, which was kind of old school, right? But these are the things that I treasure. I treasure these things, for like the younger moms that are now, like some of my godchildren and things of that nature, for them, I begin to, I think you can always pay it forward by teaching someone a new skill. And so even like in the world of investing and stuff like that, buying them stock, you know what I'm saying? Because you're never too old to own stock. Okay. And here's the thing, you pay it forward, because in the end, whether you buy stock for your mom or your aunt or whomever, right, whoever that mom is, you never know, in the will, right? They may leave you some of that stock behind. So you're always winning. Not to be selfish, but I'm just saying, like, make the gifts really count. It's just like with birthdays and things of that nature. We can get the toys and all of that kind of stuff, but is it going to help, enhance me in the long run? So it's great to get all those things. Give me a great spa day. Give me someone to come and massage my feet and my shoulders. Okay. I'm loving it all day. Right. But can you buy me some Apple stock? You know what I'm saying? And even if it's not a full share, right? Because it can be expensive, buy me a fractional share, right? So help teach me something new. I think also a really great gift is like sowing a seed into a mom or someone to where they are learning a new skill set, something new that they haven't learned. My parents, old school, they didn't know a whole lot about money, but what they did know, they taught me. And now I, learn more and more. So I'm putting that into my children now, so they'll have that. But do some of those things. Maybe somebody wants to learn how to sew. Maybe someone wants to do a cooking class, whatever the case is, do those things. But those handwritten notes, those poems, putting together a whole collection of memories with pictures, that stuff is priceless. It is priceless, because those are memories being built. Here's the challenge, and this just literally just kind of downloaded into my spirit just now. The Holy Spirit, I be high-fiving him, y'all. Y'all be seeing me I be high-fiving the Holy Spirit, okay? But he just said, why don't we be intentional, right? Why don't we be intentional for the entire year, or maybe for a full quarter, or maybe, for 6 months, whatever the case? Be intentional about spending time with those mothers, with those women in your life, and begin to create those memories. So when that next special Mother's Day rolls around, you then too have that compilation of pictures where you were intentional. And hey, we're going to go out for a movie today. And you take videos and pictures or whatever, all that stuff prior to, or hey, we're going to go to a cooking class together, or we're going to go for a walk together, and you're recording everything. And so, remember, we were being intentional about creating these videos, and now here's the gift on that Mother's Day. I think that might be pretty cool. I think that might be something I might do even on this year to kick off the Mother's Day for next year.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. And I'll be honest with you, Cece, I love that, because since my son was born, before my son was born, I've been doing what I call day in the life videos. And so in the day in the life videos, I do that for him. Like I record myself talking to him. Even when he was still in the womb, I was giving him little messages, and I say, hey, I know right now you're still in my belly, but when you watch this, when you get older, this is what I was thinking. This was the date, the time, the year, right? And so thinking about what you just said, I agree, because when he gets older, and even when I get older, I'm going to look back and be like, wow, okay, I remember that day when I filmed that. Like, that's fun. That's like, it puts you back in that moment of time, right? Even it's a form of like time traveling a little bit, because you're rekindling how you felt at that moment when you were recording that video, and really putting yourself in that situation, like, wow, I was this, or I was that, or we were doing this, or we were doing that. So I love that idea. That's brilliant.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting that you do that. I did a little bit of that when I was pregnant, not a lot, but what I do now currently for my boys is I journal. I don't do it every day, like for them, but like I have an electronic journal that I keep. And so I just write like milestones that we do. So I show them. So like when they have, get married and, and have their babies, they can be like, oh, well, my kid might start walking at 9 months or 10 months, because I was walking at 9 months. You know what I'm saying? But just kind of just showing what they did. Today you did this. And then all of their little artwork, right? There's like an app now that you can do and scan in all of their artwork, and it'll do like a whole little compilation. So we had that. Some of my kids' artwork. Now look. Don't you parents be mad at me, but some of that artwork is ugly, y'all. It's just ugly, okay? But I said, good job. I said, good job. You keep at it. My kid, he made a fish. And when he brought it home, he was like, Mom, look. And I was looking. And so you want to be careful about what you're saying, because I'm like, I don't know what this is. And he's like, it's a fish. And I said, "Is it? Wow!" The fish. It looked like a piranha, some kind of alien fish. I don't know. It's ugly, y'all. But we got it, and he had broke a couple of the fish. Can you glue this back? I don't even know what this is, but we glued it back on and put it back together again. And so he wants me to put it on the shelf. Now we have a special shelf in the garage for that. Horrible. No. That. I said, we're going to take a picture of this for the memories with them, the trash, okay?
That is so precious. I love it. Cici Nadine said, "Hola, amigas."
Hey, Nadine. Hola.
Yes. Hello. Absolutely. Yeah, that is awesome. So we're actually going to go.
Yeah, that's really sweet. You've been doing that, recording for your little one.
Yeah, because I want him to have something, and and this is something that I wish. Well, obviously, I grew up in a different day and time, but even older, like before my dad passed, I would have loved to have these memories, more memories with him, hearing his voice on video, seeing his demeanor or how he walked or danced. This is what I want my son to have when I'm no longer here, and I'm glad I'm able to offer that for him. So yeah. Sounds good, Nadine. We are here with you. We're actually going to pivot over to our special guest who's patiently waiting for us behind stage. Yes. So we're thrilled to welcome Attorney Nakisha Roberts. Raised in Virginia Beach, VA, Nakisha also spent meaningful time in North Carolina, where she completed her undergraduate and law degrees at 3 esteemed HBCUs. So St. Aug University, North Carolina A&T State University, and Central. Ooh, Eagle Pride. A School of Law. So now back in her hometown, Nakisha is making a powerful impact through her general legal practice with a special passion for contract law, a field that blends her love of business, numbers, and people. She proudly maintains her North Carolina roots, continuing to tutor math students and staying connected with her law school community, all while preparing for future licensure in North Carolina. A self-described solutionist, strategist, and simplification specialist, Nakisha is dedicated to demystifying legal concepts and empowering everyday people. Her social media series, Talk It Out Tuesdays with Attorney Roberts, delivers bite-sized legal knowledge weekly, educating, equipping, and inspiring audiences to take change of their legal journeys. So we definitely are excited to welcome Attorney Roberts to Oyendia TV. Welcome.
Yay. Hello. Hey. So excited to be here. Thank you so much for an amazing introduction. Yes, you made me sound all polished and things. So I'll do that bio some justice tonight.
Well, you are, man. Of course you are. Yes. And we're thrilled to have you. Absolutely. Because I know you're gonna deliver the audience and listeners some amazing information, especially from a legal perspective, for sure. But before we start the conversation, I'm going to ask the $1 million question that I like to intro with is, who does Attorney Nakisha Roberts, say she is? How would you describe yourself? I just described you in your bio, but who do you say you are?
Well, I mean, no pressure if I'm going to top that, but I'll have to pause for the cause for a moment. No, honestly, I am a woman of faith. I am a woman of fairness, and I am a woman of respect. I am super, super big on people and numbers and people, or I said people, Lord Jesus. Numbers, people, and business. Get into the business. Okay, so I think that it's just amazing to build people up and to just operate in the fullness of my divine identity, which I have acronymed as HOPE, which stands for humor, optimism, patience, and encouragement, because I bring all of those things.
I love that. Wow. Very, very impressive. So tell us this journey of you becoming an attorney. How did it all start? Because you and I have known each other for years.
Right,
So I'm just
right.
curious to understand how it got to this place. Tell the audience, because I know a little bit about that background, but tell the audience, how did we get here to now you becoming an attorney? Can you hear me?
Buffering. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We're back. I think we're back.
Okay, yep, we're back. Perfect. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Did you hear my question, or did you need me to repeat it?
I did. No, I heard
Oh,
your
okay.
question. Um, so it has been a journey for sure. I started my law school journey after being promoted out of corporate America. Let's put it that way. That's how I like to, describe what happened. So I graduated college, went to work in corporate America, was promoted every single year over year. And I just got to a point where I felt like there has to be more to life than this. Like, I'm sure that God is not continuing to wake me up every day just to pay bills and work. I'm like, okay, Lord. So I had to have a heart to heart with God, like, listen, Lord, you keep waking me up for some reason. Can you just give me a smoke signal, message in a bottle, pigeon, something, carrier pigeon? Let me know what's the reason here. What's the purpose? Because I want to do that. I want to have a more fulfilling life. And I just need you to, give me a hint, let me lead me where you want me to go. So he did lead me to pursuing law school. And I was able to do that full time. At that point of my life, though, I was a single mom. I had one son at that time. And, let me pause for the cause and say that, first of all, law school and parenting, neither of these things are for the faint at heart. Okay. Neither of these things are light tasks. So that's separate, but trying to do them together is a special time. So they tell you on the first week of law school that law school is a jealous mistress. Okay. Because it wants all your time and attention. But I was just like, I can't do that. Call me crazy, but I'd like to raise my child. Anywho, so I continued down that journey or what have you. It was a great time. I was actually able to build a modeling career, which is where, you and I connected originally, and build some entrepreneur businesses, and continue law school and my master's. I actually ended up doing a dual degree program, as if law school was not crazy enough. Had to take it up a notch. And I imagined that I would still be in North Carolina. That was my plan, to remain there or elsewhere. But God had other plans, greater plans, that brought me back to Virginia. So immediately after graduating law school, I was transplanted back to my home state, Virginia Beach, and the rest is history. So I had to learn Virginia law, get licensed here, and get things up and running. So here we are today.
Wow. Wow, that is an amazing story. And you said something that really everything that you said caught my attention, but this part right here specifically, where you said God had other plans and you were willing to pivot and to accept it, right? Because I bring that up because I've noticed a lot of people that I've come across, they're very complacent or stagnant, or they're scared to take that leap of faith, or scared to relocate or move, not realizing that this world is so big. And although you're comfortable in a certain spot, that may not be where God has you. Like that may not be where you're supposed to be, which is why you may not be getting results, or the results that you think you should be getting. And so I salute you for being open-minded to say, hey, I'm going to follow God's plan. This is where he wants me. I'm going to move back, and that's it. And so that's impressive. And I actually want to challenge more people to think that way, to realize, like, if you're in your home state, that may not be where you're supposed to be. You might be overseas. You might have to be down south. Like me, I moved from up north to North Carolina, and I love it. That's been the best move of my life. Just like you started in Virginia, North Carolina. Now you're back in Virginia. You realized, hey, there were lessons I had to learn. I had to grow in a certain spot, and now I'm back where I'm supposed to be. So, hey, I love that.
Right. Yes. And I'm going to, if it's all right, add to that answer with a shameless plug, because I do often get asked a lot, like how I was able to balance law school with the modeling career and business, and because I also worked. So not only was I building my own business, but I was still working part-time. I
Wow.
worked at the school because, we got to get it, like, yes, I was pursuing my dream, but I still had somebody depending on me who couldn't fend for themselves. So I couldn't be irresponsible. And I am of the opinion that although we were raised by a generation of moms who felt like they had to sacrifice their careers in order to have a family, of the opinion that you can have it all. You don't have to give up your dreams and your purpose in order to have a family. I believe that with the art of balance, you can absolutely have all that God has for you. And so I put that in my book. Which is an Amazon, top new release. It's called The Art of Balance. And it really does give practical guides and practical tips that I learned through my journey of law school, single motherhood, etc., and how I was able to do it. So again, it's called The Art of Balance, 10 Commandments to Birthing Babies and Businesses. I'm just saying. And that was all God.
Wow. Praise God. That sounds really good. I'm going to have to check that book out. For sure.
It's on Amazon and it's a quick read. I like to get in, get out. Like, I don't like to waste people's time. That's one of the only things we can't get back. So I try to maximize and respect people's time. So.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I respect that for sure. Cece, before I get into my questions, what questions do you have for her?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. Can you hold the book back up? It kind of faded in on the... try to balance that a little bit so that people can see. We need to see. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm loving it. Now, who is this on the cover? Is that you?
It is. That's my modeling.
Who's on the cover?
This is actually a picture from my graduation photo shoot from law school. So that is me.
I love it. Fantastic. So you talked about the tips. You have some tips in the book. What are your, say, maybe top 3 tips when it comes to balance in your book that you would recommend for our viewers?
Absolutely. So of the 10 commandments, I would say that the biggest one is having the right support, because whether we're talking shoes for the, task, like wearing the right shoes for the occasion, or wearing the right, or having the right people around you, the support that you have whenever you're doing something is so very important. You have to have the right support, for whatever it is that you're doing. So it's like, make sure that you're staffing your life accordingly based on what it is that you're seeking to do. So definitely having the right support is a big one. I would say, diet. Okay, so there's one of the commandments that says diet determines distance, right? And so we're talking what you're consuming, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. Everything that you take in, whether you're talking physical food, right? Because everybody understands food. So I'll give that example. Whatever you eat, like if you take in a whole bunch of sugar and junk, you're going to feel like crap. You're going to feel like you ate a bunch of crap. That's not good for you. It's going to, eventually have an impact, and you're going to see a physical change from what you consume. And we are what we consistently eat. Again, be it physically, mentally, or spiritually, what you take in shall come out. Okay. So you want to make sure that you are consuming the right things and that your diet is right for where you're hoping to go or where you're aiming to go. Okay. So not trying to get too much negative. You asked for 3, so I'm going to give you another one.
I love that.
The third and final one that I will say is so very important is faith. Having faith in God and really allowing him to lead and guide your journey, because he created it. He ordained your story before the foundation of the earth. So it makes sense to tap in and to know where it is that he has for you to be, so that you can absolutely just bask in the fullness. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I think you're spot on when you're talking about that. Another question came up when you were talking, and you talked about having the right support. So what does the right support look like? How does one get the right support in their circle? Yessie and I were talking earlier before we came on with you, and our circle, we said like 5, but I still have fingers. I'm not even utilizing all 5 fingers, right? With my circle, it's very close knit. And so how does one define, how does one see what the right support looks like, and how do you get it? So one, how do you define it, and how do you get it?
So I'll give you an example, and then I'll break it down and make it a little more real. So if you were going to go hiking, right? If you were invited to go hiking and you have never been hiking before, but you have some shoes in your closet, you go to your closet and you have some flip-flops, you have some open-toe sandals, and you have a pair of sneakers, right? For a hike, you probably don't want to have your feet exposed. You don't know what the type of terrain is going to be. So you just want to pick the right shoe for the adventure, right? For the task. Same thing goes for life, right? If we're planning on having a professional meeting, for example, Yessie knows a lot of people. Okay. So when she envisioned having this podcast, right, she could have picked anybody, but she understood the vision because she mapped out where she was going ahead of time and then filled in the spots accordingly. Does that make sense? It's just like if you were invited to an all-white party or an all-black party and you go to a store, you don't have to look at the blues, the reds, the greens, because you're looking for one specific color to fit the event that you're going to. You know what I mean? So that kind of helps narrow what you're looking for, and it eases the task. So in short, I say all of that to say that knowing where you're going ahead of time, like kind of work backwards. So know that, okay, I'm going here. It's just like if you were planning to drive from here to California. Okay, I know I'm going to cross this state, and this state, and I know I'm going to need gas. So I'm going to make sure that I do these things. So plan your work your plan.
Great analogy, Nakisha. I just joined the call, so I wish if I'd have known that analogy 20 years ago when I came on Fuji. I wore some sneakers, and child, let me tell you, when I got down, I had blisters on my feet. My toes were hurting. I should have wore some hiking boots, okay? But I was young and stupid and didn't know any better. I thought some sneakers would have done the trick, but girl, child, it did not. So do your research, right?
It makes a difference.
I love it. And Attorney Roberts, meet my other co-host of ONDI TV, Nadine Barton. She just joined us. So welcome, Nadine. We're excited to have you. Yes.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Nice meeting you too.
Cece, those were amazing questions that I echo, because those are definitely thoughts that people would think about, right? Especially Attorney Roberts bringing the book, which is great. So definitely check out Amazon. It sounds like a good read. I guarantee it's going to be a good read. You can read a lot, good, valuable information, which is what you need. Like Attorney Roberts said, it's about what you're digesting in a positive manner in your mind, not just physically, but also mentally, right? And so thinking about that too, I'm just curious, out of all the careers, you mentioned that God gave you this thought of going into law. Why do you think that is? Why do you think God said, okay, daughter, this is what I put on you to do, out of all the things that you could do?
So that is a loaded question that honestly, I think God is still unpacking why he led me in this direction. But I do know that very clearly he said to me, you're going to help change people's lives through law. So I did submit and surrender and ask God, like, how do you want to use me? I am your vessel. How do you want me to serve your purposes? Right. And so he confirmed or answered or responded with law. And I know that I've always been an advocate for people, or a voice to the voiceless. And that is essentially what an attorney is, especially if I'm litigating and I am in the courtroom speaking up for you. I am, representing your interests and I'm advocating for your rights. And that's always been in me to do, because I'm speaking. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say what needs to be said. And I'm going to say it, respectfully and lovingly, and you're probably going to laugh a little bit, but it's not going to make it any less true, what I'm saying. And I love to put things in a way that you can only respect. Like, let's deal with this. Let's resolve this somehow. We got an issue. We don't have to get hung up on it. Let's find the resolution. Let's talk solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. This past Tuesday, you dropped a 3-minute video that I was able to watch. And I actually learned a lot just in those 3 minutes about the difference between a lawyer and an attorney. So would you mind reiterating your words about what is the difference between a lawyer and an attorney? Because you made a good point where people are like, I'm going to reach out to my lawyer. You can talk to my lawyer. But it's like, okay, can your lawyer really help you?
Right.
So let's that down for us. What is the difference between a lawyer and an attorney?
Sure. So glad that you asked. So yes, we do often hear them used interchangeably, but there is actually a difference. So a lawyer is limited to giving legal advice. So while both an attorney and a lawyer have the legal education, they have the legal knowledge in their roles. So a lawyer can give you legal advice. So if you have a question in general, you can go to a lawyer, you can talk to a lawyer, but an attorney is the one who can actually represent you in a court of law. So if you have a trial or a hearing, you're going to need an attorney, not a lawyer, which is, if you ever notice when judges are reading someone their rights and they're saying, if you do not have an attorney, one can be provided to you. They specifically do not say lawyer, because a lawyer is not going to help you much in the courtroom. They can tell you what to do a little bit. Like, they can be like, well, here are your options legally, but they cannot stand with you in trial.
So that's great. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was a difference. So are they both licensed, like an attorney and a lawyer? Are they both licensed, or no? Does one require a license and another does not? Like, how does that work?
Great question. So to be an attorney and to represent people in court, you do have to be licensed to practice law. And you have to be sworn in and take an oath to be authorized or approved to appear in court on behalf of clients. So that does require a licensure and a ceremony to be sworn in. Mm-hmm.
So basically, right? So like they have like so you have those lawyers that does like litigation. I don't know if I'm using the term correctly, for like a car accident. So that would be a lawyer, not an attorney, right? No.
It depends, because and that is, you're going to hear that so common. Like, that is one of the most often used phrases in law, is it depends, because we live in a gray area. It's not always black and white. So it depends on where we are in this car accident process, whether you're dealing with an attorney or it's an attorney. Yeah.
So help. Can you? Yeah, she's frozen. But yeah, well, while she comes, oh, there she is. There you are. It was frozen up for a little bit, and that's a good question, Nadine, because it sparked my brain to ask, because I want to understand, like, and I'm sure the viewers and listeners want to understand too. At what point does a lawyer step in versus an attorney? What scenarios would warrant an attorney over a lawyer?
Sure. So if you just have general questions, so if you have like a contract that you're considering signing, for example, or if you want someone to look over an agreement or give you some advice on what your legal options are, you can simply talk with an attorney and have a consultation. So a lawyer can give you legal advice and let you know, hey, these are what your options are. And this would be if you were going to represent yourself in court. If you were going to approach something pro se, is what it's called, when you are representing yourself and not necessarily hiring an attorney, but you want to make sure that you are complying with the laws of the land and that you are very clear on what your options are. Let's say you just can't afford an attorney, but you want to make sure that you are covered from a legal perspective. You can speak with a lawyer and get advice from the legal side of things. And if you are on trial for murder, for example, or, being charged with something, then it's advised that you have an attorney to represent you and to negotiate on your behalf and to advocate for your freedom and for your rights and protection.
Now, do attorneys and lawyers, are they on the same pay scale, or is there one that kind of like which is higher? Can they charge the same thing? Because a CPA, right, an accountant, right, mm-hmm. and then you have like a bookkeeper. They kind of make different pays, right?
Right.
So right. What's the pay scale like? Can they be the same or not? Right. It's just like a mechanic. And I learned this. A certified mechanic, right, can charge more money than a non-certified by law. Right. So I didn't know that. Well, that's a thing. So this is why they're charging me like $5,000 versus $500. OK, so what is that like between attorney and lawyer? How does that work?
Sure. So typically an attorney is more expensive because they're doing a little bit more work, because going to trial is actually not so cut and dry as they make it seem like on TV and in movies. And honestly, only 6% of cases go to trial. Most cases settle out of court. Yeah, surprisingly. Yep. Mm-hmm. Fun fact.
Oh, wow.
So most cases settle out of court, and that is the job of an attorney, to negotiate those deals and try to get things settled sooner than later. Because honestly, you can sue anybody for anything in this country. And if every single person who filed a suit was allowed to go before a judge, the court systems would be backed up more than they already are. They would be so congested, so clogged, and it would be so inefficient. So most cases do not make it to court. It's expensive, it's time consuming, and it's a lot of paperwork. So most of the time, you're going to have an attorney negotiate with the other side to try to settle things or come to an agreement outside of the courtroom. Mm-hmm. And that does take time, that takes money, that takes resources, that takes strategy. And so an attorney is going to cost you a little more of your penny versus just getting a consultation for some legal advice from a lawyer.
Right.
Wow.
So sometimes it's better not to go to court unless you really have a point to prove or you think you could win that case.
Mm-hmm. Basically. Absolutely.
So listening to you, Attorney Roberts, it sparked my brain to ask two questions. So the first question is in relation to the criteria. Is there a criteria of what cases go to court compared to what doesn't? Because you just mentioned interesting statistic, 6% of cases go to court. That's very low.
Right.
So is there a specific criteria that's followed to determine, okay, this case goes to court compared to this case doesn't go to court?
It's not necessarily criteria per se. It's a few different things. So it depends on, just because you file some charges or you allege some things, it doesn't mean that you're going to make it to the judge. You have to make your case. You have to, on your complaint, you have to state a case or a claim upon which relief can be granted. So you can't just say, she chipped my fingernail and so I want $500. Like you're not going to court for that. Like you wasted your money even filing this complaint. Like, is this real? Because subpoenas for real, to get a witness into court and all of that, that's not free. That stuff costs to subpoena certain witnesses, certain people, certain documents. That stuff comes with a price tag. So this is where the costs of litigation or going to trial can rack up. So it's not, there's some criteria. Yes, you have to state an actual claim and it has to be legit, because honestly, the long and short of it is court is about what you can prove. So you have to have something and be able to back it up. I'm just saying.
Food for thought there. It's all about what you can prove.
Right.
That is food for thought. And with that, the second question that I had for follow-up is specific to you and the services that you offer or can offer to the community. So tell us a little bit more about your services and what you can do for the community and why people should come to Attorney Roberts for help.
Well, if you want somebody who cares and who knows her stuff, what I mean? And who's not just going to railroad you or, rake you over the coals and charge you an outlandish rate, then, check me out. I am a solutionist, a strategist, and I do specialize in simplifying things, as I'm sure you ladies can attest to tonight with the information that we've already discussed in our, few minutes together. But yeah, I care about my clients and I care about justice being served. And I am all for creative solutions, doing what works and getting the results, getting the solutions. And as far as to answer your questions about my services, they are listed on my site, reviewedbyroberts.com. But to highlight a few of them, I am an attorney, so I do have the ability and the license and the credentials to represent you in court. Right now, I have a general practice, which means I cover a wide number of cases. So criminal law, family law, business law, even landlord tenant real estate type of things, civil issues I can cover, I can assist with. And if I'm not able to assist, I will let you know. I'm not about wasting anybody's time or money, especially okay. Just saying.
Wow.
So I have a question. So are you just covering in the area that you are covering, that state, or you cover the 50 states?
Oh, no, not the 50 states, because so the way that it works is every state has its own set of laws, rules, and requirements to be licensed to practice law in their state. And so, yeah, no, and you got to pay for that too. This journey was an investment, let's say it like that. But each state is different as far as what they require. And so I am currently licensed in the state of Virginia. However, I do have familiarity with North Carolina laws because that is where I studied first. And I can talk generally. Of course, federal laws have their own requirements, if you will. So I can speak to that, some as well. Oh, and just a fun fact, something else that I'm doing is I actually do some immigration law right now. I am doing that as well. I am working with a firm, an immigration law firm that has been around for 20 plus years. And I'm working with them as well, just getting all the experience. Okay. Helping however I can.
Awesome. And I know that I came in late, so I'm not sure. Forgive me if they already asked this question. So it was in your bio. So you did study at 3 prestigious HBCU schools. So how did that, shape your path differently?
Okay. So I absolutely loved my college and postgraduate experiences at the HBCUs. I did share earlier, I don't think you were here yet, but I transitioned out of undergrad. So I went to St. Aug for my freshman year and then ended up transferring and finishing at A&T. And then I went into corporate America for a little bit, for maybe like 4 years before shifting to law school. And what I appreciate about my HBCU experiences is that they prepared us for our experience in the workforce. So I feel like it was tailored to what our experience would be. So from a general perspective, I'm considered, and many of us, I think all of us here are considered double minorities. So we're women, that's one minority, and then we are, women of color. So I never let that stigma stop me or hold me back. Like I wore that as a badge of honor. Like, okay, I know what you think, about me, but I thankfully have been poured into and have been built to believe in myself and believe or let my results speak for me. And so you can have an impression of me. That's cool. You can have that. I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you what it is. Like, I'm more than what meets the eye, is what I'm saying. I'm serious with a smile, and I'm gonna blow you away. I'm gonna show you a thing or two about a thing or two, is what I'm saying. So
awesome. Yes, you said you're double, honey. I'm triple because I'm from the island, so from a totally different country. So I'm triple over here.
You just got a little spice. You just got a little extra spice.
Yeah, I have to use the bulldozer to always have to fight. I have to use the bulldozer to keep fighting, honey. So. Because the way some people try to hold you down, honey, only God could take you out of it. And I'm grateful for him for that.
Preach.
Yes, I love that. Wow, these are I'm loving this conversation. And with this, because you just are an amazing person, because I know you and I know how amazing you are, and I'm so happy that you're here with us. What connections, let's say for example, like I know somebody in the state of Wisconsin that's needing a good representation, but obviously you don't practice there. So I can't say, hey, call Attorney Roberts because she practices in Virginia, right? So do you have those like other like internal attorney connections where you can like refer somebody to say, hey, speak to attorney so-and-so and they can kind of help you? Like, how does that work from state to state? And this goes in correlation to the question that Nadine had about practicing in different states. Like, what's that correlation or networking?
Sure. So, the same way that in undergrad, people come from all over, from various states just to attend certain schools in North Carolina or Virginia or Delaware or what have you. The same works for law school. Not everybody who attended law school in North Carolina, for example, is from North Carolina or still lives there. I know a young lady that I went to school with who graduated and is practicing in California. So we have attorneys in our alumni network that are all over the states. So if I'm not able to personally assist, we can actually reach in. We actually have a private Facebook group, mostly like primarily where all the alums are there, and we post different things like, hey, there's a potential client in this state who practices here or who does this. So technically we can connect you. We can reach out and see who's in our network that can assist.
Wow, that's great. Well, definitely gonna have to.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I had one maybe two questions. So for the novice, we're the novices here when it comes to law. So are there any like go-to websites, right, that you would direct people who say, hey, I want to research the law, and we're on here Googling stuff, right? But what are the official websites out there for us to go to research, like say the USC, the United States Code, Title V, the federal regulation, whatever, where do we go? What are some of those reputable websites for us to be able to find this information?
Sure. So this is going to be one of those it depends answers, only because each state is a little bit different in where they house that information. But most states have an online version of their laws and their regulations that you can access that's open to the general public. I would say starting with the courts sites, like typically you can find forms and you can find resources that lead to what the law is. So yeah, I would say start with the state court website. That's a good resource, but always look for government sites as opposed to Google, because Lord knows Google, some of everything is on there, and it's not all trustworthy. You won't get good information there, but typically you can trust the court site. They don't want to lead you astray because that hurts them. That makes their job a little bit harder if they're giving misinformation. So typically you can start with the state court sites.
Right. So
Excellent.
With that said, like for example, I'm sorry, Cece. I was
go ahead. You're good.
About that. So I was gonna say, like, for instance, you say like Georgia Clerk of Courts or those different websites. And reason why I'm saying that, because I was in the Navy and I did recruiting for 15 years. So sometimes when we're looking for information from people, we'll go to those basic websites, like, that particular state, like North Carolina Clerk of Courts or Georgia Clerk of Courts, so that you could find information as well. So I don't know if that's correct or not.
Yeah. So typically it's a good starting point to go to the courts sites that are in each state, but it's typically going to lead you to another database that has the actual law, like the actual code, the actual, however they're calling it, because every state doesn't call it the same thing as far as where they house all of their laws, but you typically will have a link to it if you start with the court site. That might not be where you live, that might not be where you stay, but it can be where you start.
And a lot of them are easier to access than others as well. Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome. Cece, what was your question for Attorney Roberts?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of pivot a little bit and talk about your Talk It Out Tuesday. So tell us about that. Like, what are you talking about, right? And, is it just like an open forum where people can kind of come in and ask questions and, so tell us about that whole social media platform for the Talk It Out Tuesday.
Sure. So Talk It Out Tuesday is where I just take a few minutes each Tuesday to discuss little known legal facts. Just for example, like as you said, I talked about the difference between a lawyer and an attorney because I know most people think they're the same and don't realize that there is a difference. So I'm just providing helpful insight to help clear up some of the legal jargon and the confusion that's out there. So I will actually, it's just me talking live as it stands right now. I don't do, this is one of the rare instances where I'm, live speaking, but I just give a snippet just to touch on different legal complicated matters and try to simplify them. So I take suggestions as far as topics. So like, I definitely love getting, thoughts and ideas of, hey, what's confusing to you? Or what's something that doesn't really make sense to you from a legal perspective that I can speak to help educate the masses? Because I am one woman, I can do a lot, but not everything. So I know the internet will help and expand my reach. So that is what that's about.
Okay, and I have a question too, if Cece is finished. So yeah, with the exception of the difference between the attorney and the lawyer, what's the common mistake that people make that they should already know?
Well, I think there's a few of them.
Or that you wish they know about.
Enlighten us, Attorney Roberts. I want to know this too, so that y'all viewers and listeners make sure y'all don't do this after you hear this, Attorney Roberts.
Right, right. Something that you wish more people will, know about.
There's so much.
There's so much. Like the most common one.
One that comes to mind, one that just jumps to the top of the list, which is definitely forthcoming. There's two, but I'll give one. I'll give this one. There is a difference between wills, trusts, and estates. And I think that a lot of people make the misconception that a will be fine. Like if you have a will, you're good. Everything is covered and I'm straight. Like I'm gonna just write it out and we're good here, right? If they even know, because a lot of people don't even know they should have a will. Some people don't even know anything about it and don't protect themselves in that way. And then should they pass when their time is up, it's a mess for your loved ones to try to figure it out and sort through. So I think that people under prioritize understanding what a will is, what a trust is, and what your estate is. And I do intend to cover that in another Talk It Out Tuesday segment, but that is something that more people should learn about and prepare for. So preparation is key for me. And a will and a trust is like one of the best ways that you can plan for your life afterlife, if you will. And a will is like the first step. That's like the basis. That's the baseline. That's step one. If nothing else, have a will. Okay. Now, if you do that and, you're ahead of the game, you still living, you still got some years, then we need to add a trust just to make sure that it's a clean process as far as getting your assets distributed to the loved ones that you've selected that you want to leave it to without having to go through court or probate or that whole thing. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yes, that's a deep question right there. And so when I want to know more about this will, estates, and trusts. So when are we going to hear this on Talk It Out Tuesday? Unless you can give us like some snippets now, and then it'll lead into
the snippets. That was the snippets. I'm not inclined to give more. It's only 3 minutes. It's only a 3-minute clip. Okay, it's 3-minute clips that I drop at 3:00 on every Tuesday. Okay,
I respect that.
I can't give it all right now. You got to stay tuned. Come on to my page.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I'm definitely going to tune in. Y'all got to tune in too because we got to know the difference. But this is the intricate part about that is because wills, trusts, and estates can get so deep. I honestly feel like you need more than 3 minutes, ma'am. I mean, 3 minutes is not going to be enough.
I mean, it depends. I'll be strategic. I might stretch it out. Maybe the first 3 minutes will be about wills. This is what wills are. This is why you should have them. Join us next week when we'll talk about trust. You know, but I'll give the full coverage. Okay.
So then when you do these videos, this is the question that I'll have for you at that time to help. Please, hopefully you can answer is, in your opinion, what would be the best recommendation in each scenario about when a person should get a will compared to an estate, compared to a trust, and what those scenarios would be? You know, because a lot of people don't know what a will is or an estate is or a trust is. They're clueless.
Yes.
They're like, you know, so
You still
if you can help answer that question,
you're digging
yeah.
for my gems early. You're digging for my gems early.
Yes, she is. I mean, we gotta try to get the juice out of you, Miss Roberts.
I respect the effort. You know, you got to try to do it. I understand, but you gotta stay tuned. Yeah, I'd say a will is a starting point. You know, if you just want to figure out or organize what you want to happen with your things, with your items, right? It's like you can think of your estate as being your box of goods or what you own. It's your box of stuff. And the will is like the first step to figuring out what to do with your stuff when you're no longer here to do it yourself. It's like the will are the instructions for, hey, here's my box of stuff. Here's the will to outline what I want to happen. Give this to such and such, give this to such and such, and the rest put it over there. So it's like the first step. It's the instructions, right? And it can get a little messy in terms of if it happens like that, you know, it depends. It could fall into court. People could combat it. Like, how come Georgie got the most Mona Lisa painting? I wanted that, and he knew I wanted that, so I'm fighting for that. No, I want the Mona Lisa painting. Then it's not so easy. It's not so clear cut. Somebody can contest the will. That's what it's called. So they can, what I just described was somebody contesting the will. So they're basically fighting what that person wanted, what their instructions were. Here's what I want to happen with my stuff. Make sure this happens with my stuff is in the will, and somebody that's still living disagreed with it. It can happen. And so then it gets caught up in court, it gets prolonged, and it becomes a whole thing. This is why the next level, the next best thing you can do is a trust. And I'll go more into detail on that, not now, but on Tuesday, on one of these Tuesdays. But a trust kind of eliminates the need for court because it organizes it a little more clearly, if you will, and it kind of takes a middle person out of it. It just, you don't need to have anybody dictate it because you have beneficiaries. So it's like you have a trust, you put the stuff in the trust, and then you say, this part of the trust, it goes to this person when I die or at this time. So it's like, this is the beneficiary, this is the recipient of this particular part of my stuff. So it's like, it's clear cut. It just is an automatic process. There's no need to involve the court. There's no need to, you know, stretch it out or go to probate because it's already been organized and set up ahead of time. And it's just more streamlined. And yeah, it's more streamlined so that if you can get that done, because that can be very tedious to set up. It is a little more involved, but you can pay an attorney. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You can pay an attorney to set that up for you, and to have your wishes be organized and streamlined for you.
Wow.
So you have to pay an attorney to get it done. So that's something you could do yourself.
Yes, you have the option to pay an attorney to set it up for you because it is very involved. It is very lengthy. Yeah. The documents, the application to set up a trust with some companies are like 30 plus pages. And then you can add stuff like for attachments. So it can get a little lengthy, you know, it can get a little heavy on the paperwork, but it's, you know, you're planning ahead of time. It's preparation. So, you know,
that's like buying a house.
Exactly.
That's like buying a house.
Exactly.
Attorney Roberts, you were going to explain to us the estate before Nadine asked her question, because I still want to know what the estate is too. So put it in here.
I have one last question, but go ahead. Yes, Dee.
Okay. Well, this is quick. The estate is essentially your box of stuff. It's it's what the name is essentially of your items, your assets, whatever it is that you have acquired and accumulated here on earth and that you have to pass on or to transfer. It's housed in your estate. And so you just want to be clear about what your estate contains and what an actual asset is, because sometimes there's questions like, people sometimes mistake what is sentimentally valuable to them as being an asset. That old picture. I'm just saying.
So funny.
I'm just saying, not everything that, means a lot to you is an asset as defined by the law. So, it's important it's helpful to have someone that knows what those distinctions are to be able to help you properly clarify what your estate entails or includes.
So is there a particular one that's most common that you see all the time that people fight over, that they think, okay, it's an asset that, and it's not?
It's little things like, this cup from that dad used to drink out of all the time. Oh my gosh, it means so much. I need that. People have fought over like a keychain. Or like it's minor things. Like honestly, with divorces and deaths, people get extremely petty. And they're emotional. These things are emotional. So it also helps to have somebody who's neutral, who can be clear-headed and, strategic and not as emotionally attached, to be able to be rational and the voice of reason. This is where an attorney or a lawyer will come in to play. But yeah, people with divorces and deaths, they get pretty irrational and pretty petty.
Wow. That is interesting. Nadine, you had a question before.
Yeah, I just have one last question. So in the courtroom, do you have an alter ego? I have to ask that question. You know what I mean?
So it's
a superpower.
Oh, it's so funny. I don't know. I don't think I necessarily transform, because I am authentically who I am, unapologetically, and I am someone who is professional. Just in general, in my personal life, I am professional. And when I handle my business, I'm absolutely professional. However, I'm very candid. I'm very like bubbly and calm, and you will get all of that. Like you will just get me and all of this in all of my interactions and services. So you will just get me. I have no one else. I think everybody else is already taken. So I've just chosen to be me.
Right. As it should be, honey, as it should be. Yeah.
That is beautiful. I love it.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Everybody else is already taken. I choose to be me. We heard it here first. I love it. I love it.
We've heard some amazing things from Attorney Roberts, and thank you, Cece and Nadine, for your questions as well, which we were able to dive pretty deep into this conversation. But I have a feeling we're going to need a part 2, because there's just so many other questions that I got to ask, but time is not allowing us to do that. So I'm voting for a part 2. What about you, Cece and Nadine? Attorney Roberts, do you accept the part 2?
Well, I mean, if you're just going to beg me, I mean, how can I say no?
Why not?
I would love to. I would love to come back for a part 2.
Yeah. It's not on a Tuesday, so you're good to go.
This is true.
That part, Nadine.
And then it comes right after my favorite day of the week, which is when we do it Wednesday. I'm just saying. But
okay. Food for
thought. To top it off, you just got to look forward to Friday, honey.
That part. Yeah, so you all, viewers and listeners, already know if you need an amazing attorney who is passionate, who is go-getter, who is friendly, and just overall wants the best for you, definitely hire Attorney Roberts. She has your back. She does practice out of Virginia. However, she is going in the future, right? Licensure in North Carolina, correct?
Yes.
And if she can't help you, she does have a network of other attorneys that who think similar to her that can help you. So she'll definitely refer you. That's a plus. That's why I asked that question, because I know several people that are looking for good attorneys. It's just nowadays I feel like people are just, most attorneys that I've heard, like, they don't get good rapport because it's either about the money or about the clout. And it's like,
Yeah.
we got time for that. But I can
Right.
tell that you are genuine and you care. And that is why we have you on Oyandia TV, because we feel the vibes. I feel the positive vibes from you, ma'am. And you're definitely touched by God. So that's a blessing right there. So we're going to pivot over into our last minute words. This is an opportunity to promote your websites, your book, anything about you. If you have a quote that you want to say, any last minute words from a food for thought standpoint, pretty much anything that you can think of, this will be an opportunity for you to do that. So, Cece, would you lead us? And then we can go into Attorney Roberts and then Nadine, and I'll close out.
Absolutely, would love to. So I'm Sandra, the Actions with Inspire for Purpose. My quote is, remember, nothing positive ever came from negative thinking. You can find me at www.inspireforpurpose.com, where I would love to connect with you. And I just always want to encourage everyone out there, right? Keep your head up, keep your feet on the ground, and continue to move forward.
Yes, that was beautiful. So yes, this is Attorney Roberts. I am so very excited to serve as a solutionist, a strategist, and a specialist in simplification. I help in all things love driven, so to speak, and also just from a legal perspective, however I can serve and make you better going out than coming in. Okay. And you can reach me at my site, reviewedbyroberts.com. I am on Facebook at Nakisha. That's NAKISHA-M Okay. And as far as a quote, I'm going to leave you with a scripture. So one of my favorite scriptures that I took to heart and that I fully follow is Philippians 4:13, which says, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Just be blessed.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So yes, my name is Nadine Barton. As you see it on the screen, the author, Navy veteran, and entrepreneur. I just want to say today, specifically in life, you never know what somebody is going through, so just be kind to people, because my favorite quote that I've used throughout my military career and since I've been out every day is, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it. So just keep that in mind before you respond to somebody, or before you start going into an argument, or you don't know what that person is going through. So just think about that before you respond. So you could definitely find me on Facebook with my name, Nadine Barton, or Nadia B_1202 on Instagram. And also have a blog page, blogwithnadine.com, BLOG WITH, Nadine, as you see it on the screen.com. And also you can find me and my books as well on Amazon. Just put my name in and all the information will come up. So I want you guys to be blessed. And like I said, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react.
Awesome. Thank you. Wow. This another amazing show. I just thank God for Oyandia TV for putting this vision and just bringing just people connecting virtually, and the goal for Oyandia, like I always say, is to positively motivate, inspire, enlighten, educate, and entertain you, the viewers and listeners, with every episode. And I know we did that again today. Yes. We did that again today. We learned a lot. My brain is like, whoop. They were like this. And I thank you for our special guest, Attorney Roberts. Amazing. I'm looking forward to that part 2 that we're going to have later on this year. Shout out to my amazing co-hosts, Cece and Nadine. Always amazing with the great, dope questions, personality. It's just, I'm just overwhelmed with joy. But let me say this though, before I bring out the commercials for our sponsors, just a food for thought. Based on life experience, life and death happens unexpectedly, right? Definitely, in light of what Attorney Roberts shared with us today, be prepared, because you just don't know when that time may be up for you or for a loved one. So it's never too late to look into the estate planning, the wills, the trust, etc., because you don't want to be caught off guard. And even with that in mind, also start thinking about your end of life. Like, I get it. It's one of those, it's like, it's uncomfortable, but it's a question that needs to be had. And the reason why I'm bringing this is because too many times I see and hear people, they're scrambling because they lost a loved one. Now they don't have the money, the funds, their loved one can't get a proper burial service or ceremony because no one thought about it. But today is a reminder that it's time to think about it. And I get it. It's an uncomfortable conversation, uncomfortable situation, but it needs to be had. Okay. And this is just more of me encouraging you to do it, because we need to have this conversation. Like, I've even had this conversation with my honey. I'm like, we need to start planning this because we just don't know. And I feel like I still have many years to live, right? But only God knows the time. We don't know the time. But while we are here, definitely take the opportunity to plan. Please don't leave that uncomfortable burden with your loved one, because now they're scrambling. They don't know what to do. Well, I think he may have wanted this, or I think she may have wanted that. What do you want? Put that thought in paper. When I pass, like for me, for example, I want some salsa, merengue, reggaeton, people laughing, dubs, the whole shebang. Like, that's what I want my end of life to be, right? When it's time for me to go home, I want people to think positively. I don't want people crying. I don't want people sad. I want people to be happy because I was able to positively motivate them. And I want that, like I said, salsa, merengue, reggaeton, little this, little that, we're celebrating that life, right? Yes. And so start thinking about that. I want to challenge you all today on this amazing Thursday. It's time to think about that. Okay. So food for thought there, but let's go over to our sponsors. Shout out to Collective Wear. We have Divine Beauty and Accessories. We have author Nadine, author CC the Actionist. We have Inspire for Purpose. We just have some amazing sponsors here. So let me bring up my media. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by Collective Wear. Available at www.yessierodriguez.com/shop and myrod-enterprise.com/shop.
Dream, explore, discover with Nadine's Travel Oasis. Your next adventure is just a booking away. From breathtaking beaches to vibrant cityscapes, we handle the details so you can make the memories. Luxury, leisure, or last-minute getaways, we've got you covered. Book today and let Nadine's Travel Oasis take you places. Sponsored by Divine Beauty and Accessories. Watch Oyandia TV, Thursday, 7:30 p.m.
All right. And for those who want to be a sponsor on Oyandia TV, we welcome you with open arms.
You're muted. Email yes, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know what happened. So sponsors, Oyandia TV, businesses, we welcome you with open arms. We are a worldwide platform. Not only can you see us visually on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you can also hear us on RSS. We are at iHeartRadio, Pandora, Samsung, Deezer, a bunch of other places. Too many to name, but we are a worldwide platform. Thanks be to God for that. Yes. Also, the quote that I have that I always love to leave you all with, just more of a food for thought, is about the Kármán line. So for those who don't know about the Kármán line, just from more of a technical standpoint, every time you tell yourself that the sky is the limit, you are technically setting a limit in yourself. And this is why. Because if you didn't know, there is an actual boundary that separates the Earth's atmosphere from outer space, right? And so that means that line is actually 62 miles above the sea level. Every time you tell yourself that the sky's the limit, you are technically setting a boundary. So please refrain from saying the sky's the limit and start saying this quote that I created back in 2011. The sky is never the limit because the galaxies are endless. Thank you all for tuning into Hoy en Día TV. It has been another amazing show. Until next week.